It is Saturday, September 29th, 2018. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so because we weren't here yesterday, we're here today. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And yesterday was very good in that we finally had our upgrades for some of the students received stripes, and I believe I don't think anybody received an actual belt, but Vu, one of the guys, managed to go up 2 stripes. Apparently they had been lax in giving him the previous stripe, and so, when he had earned this one, they took the opportunity to put it on his belt. So he was very, very happy. And it was good. I had a lot of fun rolling, and with that, when I was rolling during yesterday's class, I was trying to be more attentive of trying to maintain more of a conversation as opposed to giving some sort of monologue to my opponent. And the pairings that I had were diverse enough as far as the skill level and whatnot that I got some really good rolls in. And I thought it was going to be just an explicit open mat because we were doing awards and whatnot. But one of the coaches that is not typically there on Friday did a class and taught for the class. I thought it was awesome. It was a nice fast-paced class. We kept moving through the whole thing, and all of the things that we did kind of seemed to, progress into one another, and I thought that was very useful. Although one of the biggest problems I have in jiu-jitsu, and I'm sure I'm probably not the only person that has this problem, especially given the fact that I don't spend too much time doing open mat after class, which I probably should, where you will learn a new move or something in class, and then you'll roll, and then you'll try to apply it or completely forget about it. And more often than not, I'm in the latter category where I kind of gel, and it's like, even though we just worked this, it's not immediately in my repertoire of useful things. And so, But, I don't know, we did some good rolls, and I did manage to catch somebody in a push-pull sweep, and I was very, very happy with that. It's like, I was in a position where, they were kind of like, they had their knee within my guard kind of thing, and he was putting pressure down on and I was on my side, and so I rolled over to the other side and was holding on to his belt, and I pulled myself up against his thighs, and then when he stood, I used the leverage that I was getting off of his belt to right myself, got a foot under his knee and a foot up on his hip, and down he went. And then I resumed to the top. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I don't know, I'm feeling like a little bit more confident, but I don't know, I'm still drawing too many blanks when it comes to like takedowns and stuff, and so I want to start getting in there more often just so I could just drill the stuff that we were learning. It's like take note of the technique that we worked the one day, come in the next for the open mat, because typically I have this show directly after class, so that doesn't leave me any time to enjoy the open mat then. But shortly thereafter, the next day, there are more than one opportunity, or there is more than one opportunity for me to get down there and kind of freshen up a little bit. As far as what we're going to go through today, I haven't the slightest clue. Honestly, the fact that I did remember to get on was certainly enough. A lot of interesting things happening in the cryptosphere, as always, and so I'm sure that we'll have zero difficulty finding something out of the multitude of tabs in my browser to keep us entertained. Anywho, let's get into some music. And I did get something new in here, finally. And this is a band that I've been dying to get it in. And I got to start looking around at the local record stores and see if I can find this album, because I'm very disappointed that it costs so much to find or to buy this specific album. And it's Impact is Imminent by Exodus. It's an absolutely fantastic album. I love it dearly. And for some stupid reason, the price on it is just extraordinary. Let's see here if I can find this. God damn it. I just added it to the library today, and sometimes this program gives me a bunch of crap, or it doesn't want to do what I want it to do. Let's see here. Maybe it'll add it this time. Exodus, damn you. Here, let's do a search. There we go. Alright, so hopefully it'll actually play and won't give me any crap. But yeah, so as far as what we're going to start off with, as far as our first dance is concerned, I think we're going to go for it. Fabulous Disaster by Exodus. First dance here on Coin Metal. And that was Pantera with Cowboys from Hell. That's probably the second. That's the second song I heard by them when I first heard them. The first song was actually Cemetery Gates. For some reason or another, KNAC chose that one over Cowboys from Hell. I would have been playing Cowboys from Hell like all day long. Anyway, point being, actually there was no real point there other than my personal introduction to Pantera. Very good band. Anyways, as far as what we're going to cover today, man, I got so much stuff. I mean, man, that one's tempting. Ooh, this is what we're gonna start with, because I've been hearing very, very little about this, and so I mean, it leads me to believe that this was like an old story, and it was covered a month ago, and like nobody is saying anything about it, or there seems to be kind of a hush-hush on the mainstream media with regard to this particular hack. Facebook is breached by hackers, putting 50 million users' data at risk. This is by Mike Isaac and Shira Frankel, so a penis and a vagina. And that was authored on September 28th, 2018. So this is not an old story. Here we go. San Francisco, Facebook, already facing scrutiny over how it handles the private information of its users, said on Friday that an attack on its computer network had exposed the personal information of nearly 50 million users. The breach, which was discovered this week, was the largest in the company's 14-year history. The attackers exploited a feature in Facebook's code to gain access to user accounts and potentially take control over them. The news could not have come at a worse time for Facebook. It has been buffeted over the last year by scandal, from revelations that a British analytics firm got access to private information of up to 87 million users, to worries that disinformation on Facebook has affected elections and even led to deaths in several countries. Senior executives have testified several times this year in congressional hearings, where some lawmakers suggested that the government will need to step in if the social network is unable to get tighter control of its service. On Friday, regulators and lawmakers quickly seized on the breach to renew calls for more oversight. Go fuck yourself. Quote, "The This is another sobering indicator that Congress needs to step up and take action to protect the privacy and security of social media users. Senator Mark Warner, a Democrat from Virginia and one of Facebook's most vocal critics in Congress, said in a statement, quote, "A full investigation should be swiftly conducted and made public so that we can understand more about what happened." In the conference call on Friday, Guy Rosen, a vice president of product management at Facebook, declined to say whether the attack could have been coordinated by hackers supported by a nation state. I doubt that it was. 3 software flaws in Facebook systems allowed hackers to break into user accounts, including those of the top executives Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg, according to 2 people familiar with the investigation, but not allowed to discuss it publicly. Once in, the attackers could have gained access to apps like Spotify, Instagram, and hundreds of others that give users a way to log into their systems through Facebook. The software bugs were particularly awkward for a company that takes pride in its engineering. The first 2 were introduced by an online tool meant to improve the privacy of users. The third was introduced in July 2017 by a tool meant to easily upload birthday videos. Facebook said it had fixed the vulnerabilities and notified law enforcement officials. Company officials do not know the identity or the origin of the attackers, nor have they fully assessed the scope of the attack or if particular users were targeted. The investigation is still in its beginning stages. Quote, "We're taking it really seriously," Mr. Zuckerberg, the chief executive, said in a conference call with reporters. Quote, "I'm glad we found this, but it definitely is an issue that this happened in the first place." Critics say the attack is the latest sign that Facebook has yet to come to terms with its problems. Quote, "Breaches don't just violate our privacy, they create enormous risks for our economy and national security," Rohit Chopra, a commissioner of the Federal Trade Commission, said in a statement. The cost of inaction is growing, and we need answers." Yeah, stop using Facebook. Facebook has been roundly criticized for being slow to acknowledge a vast disinformation campaign run by Russian operatives on its platform and other social media outlets since before the 2016 presidential election. You know what? I'm just going to pause it right there. Probably the closest thing to quote-unquote Russian intervention was RT articles being posted online on Facebook. Now, it's usually done by either RT or somebody who's following RT, who likes the story. Anyway, continuing on. Ms. Sandberg, Facebook's chief operating officer, testified in a Senate hearing that month about what the company was trying to do to prevent the same thing from happening in midterm elections in November. In April, Mr. Zuckerberg testified about revelations that Cambridge Analytica, the British analytics firm that worked with the Trump presidential campaign, siphoned personal information of millions of Facebook users. Outside of the United States, the impact of disinformation appearing on Facebook and the popular messaging service it owns, WhatsApp, has been severe. In countries such as Myanmar and India, false rumors spread on social media are believed to have led to widespread killing. Facebook said the attackers had exploited two bugs in the site's, quote, View As feature, which allows users to check on what information other people can see about them. The feature was built in to give users more control over their privacy. The company said those flaws were compounded by a bug in Facebook's video uploading program for birthday celebrations, a software feature that was introduced in July of 2017. The flaw allowed the attackers to steal so-called access tokens, digital keys that allow access to an account. It is not clear when the attack happened, but it appears to have occurred after the video uploading program was introduced. Facebook said the company forced more than 90 million users to log out early Friday, a common safety measure taken when accounts have been compromised. The hackers also tried to harvest people's private information, including name, sex, and hometown from Facebook systems, Mr. Rosen said. The company could not determine the extent of the attackers' access to third-party accounts, he said. Facebook has been reshuffling its security teams since Alex Stamos, its chief security officer, left in August for a teaching position at Stanford University. Instead of acting as a standalone group, security team members now work more closely with product teams across the company. The move, the company said, is an effort to embed security across every step of Facebook product development. Part of that effort has been to gird Facebook against attacks on its network in preparation for the midterm elections. Facebook has spent months setting up new systems to preempt such attacks and has already dealt with a number of incidents believed to be connected to elections in Mexico, Brazil, and other countries. Still, the recently discovered breach was a reminder that it is exceptionally difficult to entirely secure a system that has more than 2.2 billion users all over the world and that connects with thousands of third-party services. Quote, "This has really shown us that because today's digital environment is so complex, a compromise on a single platform, especially one as popular and widely reaching as Facebook, can have consequences that are much more far-reaching than what we can tell in the early days of the investigation." April Doss, chairwoman of cybersecurity at the law firm Saul Ewing. As the news of Facebook's data breach spread quickly across Twitter, Google searches, and other online sites, there was one place where it remained difficult to find some detailed reports: Facebook. Users who posted breaking stories about the breach from The Guardian, the Associated Press, and other outlets were prompted with a notice that their posts had been taken down. So many people were posting the stories, they looked like suspicious activity to the systems that Facebook uses to block abuse of its network. Quote, "We removed this post because it looks like spam to us." Give me a fucking break. So yeah, there you have it. Facebook covering their ass because they got probed. I want to say back in like 2014, 2015 was when it kind of went out of vogue. Astonishingly, about time when we started talking about off-chain transactions and layer 2 payment solutions and all that other bullshit, that we stopped talking about central points of failure. It went out of vogue to talk about massive honeypots of customer information, their personal information, their banking information, their medical records, all of the above, right? Their associations, all the personal data about their friends and family, all of that stuff being accumulated by one party. Which, as this article, and this is written in the New York Times, as this article indicates, they've got thousands of third-party vendors that they share that data with, to some extent. So, how many times do we have to see these massive hacks? I mean, we had Equifax. They put the data of the personal information of some, I want to say it was like 100 million Americans at risk, or 80 million Americans, or some outrageous number of people, you know? And I really have a hard time understanding why people are surprised with this. I mean, if you've been online for any duration of time, you've seen plenty of hacks happen, and it's always the same reason. It's always because somebody thought it was really neat to collect the user data of millions and millions of people and make assessments of, what their buying trends are and other shit, and then monetize that, right? Well, the problem is that that information has in it little tidbits that completely violate your personal security, possibly even your physical security. Things like your physical address. You post something on Twitter, somebody doesn't like, you post something on Facebook, somebody doesn't like, and they go and they hack Facebook, they hack your account or whatever, and they get your personal information, or they buy your personal information from somebody else who has already stolen it from Facebook, and put a hit out on you or some shit, or swat you or some shit like that. I mean, it's a good chance that's already happened. And so really I did an episode on this, and you might want to look it up if you're actually interested in this aspect of data collection. It's like assumed or something about liability, where if you basically the gist of it is, if you collect the data for any reason, aren't you then the responsible arbiter of that data? And considering what that data represents, I think it's really fucking scary that they're keeping it to begin with. Especially when we live in an age where, they can do the transaction can clear, and they can just delete all of your associated information. As soon as the transaction is done, the money's in their account, they can just delete it, except for, say the transaction amount and what amount was assessed to taxes and all that other bullshit. But the point being that all of the associated taint, where they aren't collecting your name and your personal information and all that other shit, they use it to verify you one time, or have it on reference to re-verify you if it's a really sensitive thing, like maybe your bank account or something like that. But these are already people that are insured and have surety bonds and all that other shit in the event that somebody hacks your bank account and evacuates all its contents. They already have federal regulatory bodies that are over their shoulder watching them and making sure that they adhere to they are compliant, right? We've talked about how that can be gamed and whatnot, but just the same, that they already have a much higher level of assumed responsibility. They can be held liable for things like data breaches like this, whereas Facebook, it's like, oh well, yeah, they got into your Facebook account, sorry. And determining what their actual guilt is to that, I would say if it was the result of negligence on their part, maybe if they had been notified of this potential breach previously and they chose to disregard it, okay, I can see a point in there for that. Maybe they left it this way to facilitate some other third party, and maybe the most recent added ones. And it was supposed to do something very legitimate. However, the third party already had something in mind for exploiting the trust in what's that word? The trust given to them. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. I'm needing to get caffeinated here, and Power Man. It feels like it's Power Man time. And so yeah, When Worlds Collide, here on Coin Metal. And that was Within the Ruins, Elite. And so yeah, got a little bit of caffeine in me, and maybe just enough to get us to the remainder of the show. And so yeah, I've been noticing a lot of articles about quote-unquote stablecoins, and we've warned about this multiple times on this show, how there is absolutely no way, unless of course you actually have a hand up their ass in order to be able to verify whether or not they actually have the cash reserves that they claim that they do. And in essence, they completely violate the whole idea of cryptocurrencies. You know, you shouldn't have to trust anything in cryptocurrencies. I'll give you an example. I just did a transaction the other day, and I got to tell you, much to Wells Fargo's credit, they are getting on top of it with regard to getting my money transferred from my account over to Wells Fargo. They're starting to really kick ass with regard to that. Got to give them props. Every time that I've done it, it's been 2 days shorter. Every time I've done a transfer from the exchange to them, it's gotten 2 days shorter. I think the first time it took about 6 days, 5 or 6 days. The next time it took 4 days, and this last time I did it Wednesday. It was done by Friday. Money was in my account by Friday. I have to tip my hat to that. That's fucking awesome. Even though they did start off with quite a bit of resistance with regard to cryptocurrencies, I will say this. If this is their general operation going forward with regard to cryptocurrencies, they're going to win when it comes to legacy members trying to enter in the crypto space and coexist with it, rather than trying to supplant it or become rent seekers within it. And honestly, I think that's the best position for a bank to be in this century, is to act as a gateway not only to fiat currencies, between fiat currencies and liquidity in those markets, with regard to loans and whatnot, and other vehicles, investment vehicles that they provide. In addition to that, providing a bridge into cryptocurrencies and investment in them. I cannot see a better position to be in the 21st century. If you're already regulatory compliant to be a massive enterprise class liquidity provider and clearinghouse and so on and so forth between fiat currencies and cryptocurrencies, the actual trust interface with regard to cryptocurrencies itself, the majority of the trust would be on the side of the customers, that you actually have the volume of cryptocurrency that you claim to have. With regard to deposits in your account in cryptocurrency, because it's not a national fiat currency, they're not responsible to make sure that it's valid, or that it's going to retain its value or whatever. If you put like 5 Ripple in an account with them in some sort of custodial manner, it's 5 Ripple. It's not, it's not going to become 6 Ripple under their custody. Yeah. Anyway, so I got this article here. It's on NewsBitcoin or newsbtc.com. The stablecoin frenzy continues, met with criticism from experts. Yeah, whatever. This is by Cole Peterson, authored September 29th. Yeah, 29th, 2018 at 7 p.m. No indication of time zone. Bad, Cole, bad. So yes, penis. One of the most popular cryptocurrency products being released in 2018 are stablecoins, which widely market themselves as having all the benefits of cryptocurrencies minus the volatility. Despite seeming like a practical product, some critics claim that they pose too many problems to ever be widely adopted. Controversy surrounding Tether sparks frenzy. The stablecoin frenzy first began when investors lost confidence in the ethics and practices surrounding the most widely used stablecoin, Tether. In January of this year, reports surfaced claiming that Tether, USDT, was a sham being used to prop up Bitcoin's price. Yeah, whatever. The stablecoin, which is supposedly backed 1-to-1 by US dollars, is a commonly used refuge for cryptocurrency investors looking to escape the constant volatility associated with many cryptocurrencies. It is used as a trading pair on many massive exchanges and allows them to have a dollar substitute without having to subject themselves to the scrutiny and regulations associated with engaging in banking relationships required in order to allow a fiat on-ramp. The controversy surrounding this cryptocurrency stems from claims that USDT is being, quote, printed in order to prop up the cryptocurrency markets, and that there is not an equal amount of US dollars as there are tethers. These fears were perpetuated earlier this year when the U.S. Commodities Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, sent subpoenas to Tether, causing pervasive fear in the crypto markets, reported by CNBC in February. Despite this, there has been no major news since this time regarding Tether, and fears about how they may have manipulated the markets have largely subsided. Stablecoin offerings skyrocket. In response to the tremendous media storm that followed everything happening to Tether, many companies rushed to create alternatives to Tether and even alternatives to Bitcoin that provide the benefits of digital currency without the volatility, which is fucking impossible, but we won't go there. Stablecoins are in the works from some major companies including IBM, Circle, Gemini, and more, all with slightly different features that set themselves apart from the rest. Although the majority of stablecoins are backed by or denominated in US dollars, a UK startup recently announced the release of a crypto pound that will track the value of the sterling pound, reports Business Insider. We might just follow that one up. Much like Tether, the new product will be backed by reserves of UK sterling in an auditable bank account. Another type of stablecoin increasing in popularity are ones backed by metals. A Swiss-backed asset management firm recently announced that they are releasing a cryptocurrency token called Tiberius Coin that is backed by a basket of multiple metals, including copper, gold, and platinum, among others. Give me a fucking break. This type of stablecoin may prove to be more popular to investors over fiat-backed ones, mainly because it combines the technology of cryptocurrencies with the backing of physical commodities. Here's the problem with that idea. What are the commodities priced in? Oh yeah, that's right. Fiat currencies, such as the US dollar, or the pound sterling, or the real, or... Investors in Tiberius Coin will be able to exchange their tokens for physical commodities with a minimum exchange rate of $10,000 due to the commodities being held by the ton rather than by grams. Oh, this has wrecked written all over it. Because many of these stablecoins have not yet been released on the markets, it is unclear whether or not exchanges and investors will utilize them, or if they will stick to Tether, who currently dominates the markets. You know what? As much as I hate to say it, Tether is much more trustworthy than any of these proposed quote-unquote commodity-backed cryptocurrencies. It's fucking impossible to do it. I do not give a fuck how you try to do it. It is fucking impossible to do. It will not be, it won't be real, okay? Along the line somewhere, you're going to be making some speculations and some guesses, and then you're going to be wrong, and then you're going to get wrecked. I don't know how else to say it. I'm amazed that Tether has stayed afloat as long as they have. I do expect that at some point or another, some regulator is going to get their hand far enough up their ass to be able to define exactly what the fuck is going on, and they're going to shut down every single one of their offices, all of their affiliates, so on and so forth, and put the hammer down on Tether. And that's just, I expect that to happen. And you know what? If it does, a lot of people make this speculation that Tether is actually inflating the value of cryptocurrencies. I disagree. I think that in fact they're acting as kind of a buffer that prevents fiat inflation from being 100% transmitted to the market in real time. It provides a cushion. That if we were to be talking about actual fiat currencies backing without any tether in the market and without any other quote-unquote stable coins, just fiat currencies, straight up fucking Federal Reserve notes, that we would see a precipitous rise in the fucking price of Bitcoin. I don't know why nobody puts this together, but Trump has been borrowing way more fucking money than Obama did. Okay? And that has an impact on the value of existing US dollars. And so, why that hasn't been communicated out in cryptocurrencies as evaluated in fiat currencies, like I said, I think it's probably manipulation on the part of Tether, with regard to how much volume they're issuing and whatnot. And like I said, I think they're all operating as a means of deflecting fiat inflation. And then if you get enough of them circulating, like, if you had like 7 or 8 quote-unquote stable coins on your exchange, that's a lot of fiat inflation that can be distorted in the market. When you're paying for your cryptocurrencies on the exchanges, when you're paying for those in funny money that's being made on a fucking computer somewhere, there's a lot of fucking realms there for waste, fraud, and abuse, and outright fraud. Yeah, just explicit fraud. I don't know. I think this is kind of that GR Bufu event that I've been talking about for a while, and I don't know if I actually ever went through, what I call the GR Bufu. And basically, it's like this: that you have cryptocurrencies that are being traded on exchanges for a currency that is a substitute for, say, a US dollar or a something else of value, such as a commodity like oil or gold or silver or whatever. And there's a claimed association to them. Not an explicit association that you can actually determine for yourself, but an assumed and stated one. And that it would be generally accepted until it became completely obvious that the actual volume in circulation was not being reflected in the price. That we were honoring a price that it did not deserve, because versus Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency it was being used to pair against was completely out of balance. And that would put some sort of how should I say it? It would put some shade on cryptocurrency markets in general, and it would end up taking down fiat markets. Because, you got to think about how the exit goes for this. That when the run does start, what are you going to try and do? You're going to try and evacuate either your cryptocurrency or your fiat currency, depending on the exchange that you're operating on and their capabilities. That sucks up their cash reserves and or their crypto reserves. So say you take it out in Dogecoin or Ripple or Bitcoin Cash or any of them, right? So you take that volume out of the exchange, and that's that much less that they're operating with. And if they have a significant fractional reserve going, they'll end up completely insolvent in that coin. They'll have to stop trading it. But that's not going to stop people from trading. And I think this is, again, one of those places where we're not seeing the international arbitrage being expressed on U.S. markets, where we're struggling to maintain 6,500 Bitcoin, but if you were in Turkey, in U.S. dollar equivalent, one Bitcoin is going for somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000, or at least it was when last time I checked. And so the point there is, why isn't that fiat inflation contagion making its way to U.S. markets? And I think it is. It's just it's cloaked under the blankets and blankets and blankets of quote unquote stable coins that are supposedly directly associated with fiat currencies or volumes thereof. It's sadness. Come on, let me just see the fucking... Oh, you bastards. They're getting really good at this. You've got some fucking ad block, or disable it, or you can't fucking view it. Fuck you. You know what? See, what I like to do is re-enable it after I get the page to load. Anyway, this one's on businessinsider.com. A UK startup is planning to develop a, quote, crypto pound as the sector goes crazy for stablecoins. And I did an episode on stablecoins, and you guys ought to check it out. I kind of called this shit out when it was beginning. Anyway, this is by Oscar Williams Grutt, or Oscar Grutt, because we don't do middle names here, dude. And, this is authored September 29th, 2018 at 8 a.m., No indication of time zone. Bad, Oscar. Bad. And so, yes, penis. London. A UK startup has announced plans to launch a new cryptocurrency pegged to the British pound as interest in so-called, quote, stablecoins blooms. The London Block Exchange, which does over-the-counter crypto trades and operates a crypto exchange, said on Friday that it had received permission from an unnamed banking partner to launch a new cryptocurrency, dubbing the LBX peg, backed by reserves of UK sterling. The one-for-one reserves will be held in an account at the third-party bank. LBX's CEO Benjamin Dives told Business Insider that reserves will also be regularly audited by a top accountancy firm. He added that he believes that the LBX peg will be the first so-called stablecoin to be pegged to the pound. Quote, We would be ready for the first crypto pound to be minted in the next 10 days, Dives told Business Insider. The primary use case will be settlement for OTC trades in the London market, then Commonwealth exchanges where they don't have fiat backing, and then security tokens who want to pay dividends in a crypto pound. Oh, Jesus Christ. LBX's latest plans come amid a boom in activity and interest in, quote, stablecoins. These are cryptocurrencies where the price is pegged to real-world assets, usually the dollar. The idea is to give cryptocurrencies the price stability of a mainstream currency, but still retain their interoperability and digital nature. Circle, the cryptocurrency company backed by Goldman Sachs, this week became the first issuer of US dollar coin, a new stablecoin pegged to the dollar it helped to develop. The Winklevoss twins, who helped develop Facebook, have also announced their own stablecoin project. A report from Blockchain earlier this week said there are over 50 stablecoin projects currently in development. Jesus Christ. Stablecoins shot to popularity within crypto last year thanks to the rise of Tether, a cryptocurrency pegged to the dollar. Many crypto exchanges have been shut out of the mainstream financial system by banks due to compliance concerns. Tether allows them to offer dollar-like liquidity even though they cannot accept dollar deposits. Blockchain's report found around 60% of Bitcoin trades now occur in Tether globally. Well, there you have it. Yeah, I think the if you were to distort the volume of Tether arbitrarily and debase it significantly, you could be getting your Bitcoin for free. And yeah, that would deflect the price downward, and so I'm sure that's one of the reasons why regulators haven't really gotten hep to the whole thing. And I think the idea that they're allowing institutional investors to just wing it, just go for it, I think that's so fucking dangerous. These are the too big to fails, and we're allowing them to encroach in an environment where there's supposedly trusted coins being circulated. I can imagine in the not so distant future where there won't be any fucking US dollar trading pairs, except for on places like Coinbase and a few other highly regulated exchanges. But for the most part, things like USDT and the 50 stablecoins that are coming out, that they'll be basically banned from a lot of exchanges. And I think that'd probably be the best move to do. Sorry to rehydrate just a tad there. But yeah, I think stablecoins in and of themselves are dangerous instruments. I do not believe they should be allowed on exchanges, and I think that they will further erode the dollar to cryptocurrency valuations further than they already have. And so there's that. And more to that point, let's see here. Get out of this fucking shit. I don't want it. I don't want it. Inspect element. Let's see if it'll allow me to delete it. To read this exclusive story. You know what? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm not gonna do any of this bullshit. Goldman backed. Circle launches USDT stablecoin. There we go. And so here we go. This one is this one's on the Bitcoinist.com or Bitcoinist.com. Full circle. Goldman Sachs-backed startup launches stablecoin cryptocurrency. This is by Eric Grant, September 27th, 2018, at approximately 2 a.m. No indication of time zone, but yes, penis. Circle's announcement also highlights that the firm has over 30 supporting companies lined up to... Oh, wait a minute. Oh, it actually starts on the bold stuff. Never mind. On September 26th, Circle announced the release of its new stablecoin, USD Coin, which will begin trading on Circle's Poloniex exchange immediately. The USDC stablecoin will be fully collateralized by US dollars at a 1-to-1 ratio. The stablecoin market has been particularly active recently, with several other projects launching in the past few months. Circle's announcement also highlights that the firm has over 30 supporting companies lined up to begin offering trading and support for the new stablecoin. Exchanges that have agreed to begin trading in the new stablecoin. In addition to Poloniex, other exchanges include OKCoin, KuCoin, Digifinex, CoinPlug, XDAEX, and Coinex. Additionally, numerous prominent wallet providers have pledged to begin supporting USDC shortly. Circle's stablecoin project began approximately 4 months ago when Circle announced that it had raised a $110 million funding round partially to fund the development and launch of its new stablecoin. Circle is notably backed by Goldman Sachs, and its successful funding round is said to have been led by Bitmain Technologies, the Chinese mining giant. Goldman's backing and the massive fundraising round have lent considerable gravitas to the project. Circle acquired Poloniex earlier this year for approximately $400 million. Convertibility and ease of use. Traders can convert USD to USDC easily using Circle's conversion platform. Funds are held with Circle's banking partners. Funds are SAFU. The USDC coins follow the ERC20 standard. While there will be no fee for tokenizing US dollars, there will be a 1% fee charged when USDC is converted back to fiat. By building USDC using the ERC20 standard, Circle has made it relatively straightforward for exchanges and wallet providers to provide support for the new coin. To ensure that USDC retains its one-to-one peg, Circle led the creation of Center, a consortium with numerous other market participants designed to monitor and regulate USDC issuance. Issuers of USDC must comply with the consortium's rules, including sending audited bank statements, providing issuers enough USD to deposit to maintain the one-to-one peg. Increasingly crowded stablecoin field. There has been a tremendous amount of activity in the stablecoin market over the past few months. The launch of Circle's new stablecoin follows the news of the approval for launch of both Gemini and Paxos stablecoins by the New York Department of Financial Services, the NYDFS, so you know it's scamalicious. Two startups, Haven and Carbon, have also recently launched their own stablecoins. Stablecoins have emerged as a key part of the crypto market's infrastructure, allowing traders to easily move in and out of positions without triggering capital gains tax. Stablecoins also provide utility by giving traders and exchanges an easy medium of exchange that allows interacting with the traditional financial system. Tether trouble. The dominant stablecoin to date has been Tether USDT, which has been dogged by persistent concerns about the validity of its one-to-one peg. Tether is regarded by some as a systemic risk to the growing crypto markets, with widespread concerns about the impact regulatory action against Tether could have on the broader market. Concerns over whether Tether truly holds one US dollar on deposit for each US dollar USDT it has issued were sparked by its decision in early 2018 to sever its relationship with its auditor in early 2018. Always a red flag for suspected corporate misgovernance. According to CoinMarketCap, over 2.8 billion of USDT had been issued as of September 26th. In an attempt to allay market concerns about Tether's solvency, Tether released a report by Washington, D.C. law firm Free, Sporkin & Sullivan, LLP, attesting to the firm's solvency, but the report ultimately raised more questions than answers. Yes, it did, and we asked some of them on the show, actually. The market will be keeping a close eye on how quickly USDC is adopted. The question of which stablecoin will ultimately end up dominant is far from being settled, and the stablecoin space promises to remain interesting for the foreseeable future. Yeah, like I said, I think it's just dilution of the US dollar pairing value of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And oddly enough, nobody has commented on this one. But yeah, terribly interesting that we are starting to see this kind of movement, especially by the entities such as Goldman Sachs and the Winklevi. I don't trust auditors. I don't trust the idea that we have to trust them to maintain a one-to-one pairing. Just because Tether is sketchy about their reserves and all that, it doesn't mean that Goldman Sachs is going to be any less prone to the kind of abuse that Tether may or may not be utilizing at this point. So the idea of stablecoins being trustworthy just because it's a too big to fail managing it, I mean, it just seems like it's a systemic risk all the way around, and I don't find any comfort in the idea that it's Goldman Sachs that's backing it. You know, they may have some more liability exposure due to their market participation and how much of the market is them, but at the same time, I don't see that introducing them into cryptocurrencies in this manner, specifically with a quote-unquote stablecoin association, is going to make them any more trustworthy. You know, you can still lie to a blockchain. You know, and if we can believe that Tether might be possibly doing exactly that, I don't see why we should hold Poloniex, Goldman Sachs, or Circle above reproach. I just don't see any reason for it. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And I'm feeling the need for some old school Metallica here. Battery. Here on Coin Metal. And that was Sixth with Vivid. And as far as where we wanted to end up, I don't know, man. I got a lot of titles here on this website that I'm thinking could possibly... I don't think so. Anyway, I do have a few other tabs open here that I was interested in going through. I went over to the Center website, center.io, and I downloaded their white paper for USDC, and unfortunately it's 24 pages, so we're not going to be able to get into that today. But yeah, oh, this one's short enough, I think. Yeah, it's short enough. We can go for it. This is on Coindesk.com. It's by Nicholas D. Authored September 27th, 2018 at 1800 UTC. So yes, penis. U.S. lawmakers defeat proposal for crypto task force. An effort by the U.S. Congress to launch a task force investigating cryptocurrencies has been suspended. House Resolution 5036, a bill hoping to establish the, quote, Independent Financial Technology Task Force to combat terrorism and illicit financing, was referred to the House of Representatives Wednesday for consideration. The bill, a seeming upgrade from the one introduced by Representative Ted Budd earlier this year, would launch a working group to examine cryptocurrencies and other new forms of financial technologies, in particular looking for any potential use in crimes. However, public records indicate that the bill was passed by the House before being reconsidered. According to congressional rules, the fact that the motion to reconsider laid on the table was, quote, agreed to without objection indicates that no further action on the bill will be taken. Like an earlier form of the bill, H.R. 5036 would have brought together federal law enforcement leaders to provide them a year to study cryptocurrencies and how they may be used in funding terrorist activities. The task force would then have been required to brief Congress, including by proposing actions to curb such activity in the future. The bill also provided rewards for individuals or entities who provide information leading to convictions for malicious actors using cryptocurrencies to fund terrorist activities. You could probably sue the NYDFS for that. However, unlike previous versions of the bill, 5036 specifically added provisions for preventing, quote, rogue and foreign actors from evading sanctions, explaining that, quote, the President of the U.S. acting through the task force shall submit to the appropriate congressional committees a report that identifies and describes potential uses of digital currencies and other related emerging technologies by states, non-state actors, and foreign terrorist organizations to evade sanctions, finance terrorism, or launder monetary instruments, and threaten the United States' national security. Give me a fucking break. Keep poor people poor and rich people rich. That's basically it. But anyway, yeah, this I'm sure the reason why this is stalled is very, very simple. As politicians, they have two jobs, other than, of course, representing their constituents, which is like a third leg of their job, right? It's kind of deferred back a little further down the list of priorities. But the first job is to obtain funding for getting elected. Then the second job is obtaining funding to get reelected. That's it. Fund, get elected, refund, get elected again. And so with that in mind, when somebody says, hey, you know what? I want to give your campaign $10,000, but the only thing I have is Bitcoin. Are you going to say no to this person? No, you're not. You're going to get your 12-year-old niece to download a Bitcoin wallet onto her cell phone, and then you're going to have the funds sent to that, and then sent to a mixer or two, and then sent to a wallet that you manage. That's probably what you're going to do. Anyway, this kind of investigatory task force, that is, would most likely shed some light on all of that illicit finance. And no politician wants their books examined in that nature, especially if they have been doing transactions in cryptocurrencies, which I'd be willing to bet that at least 50% of the representatives have in fact used cryptocurrencies personally and or have funds being managed for them in cryptocurrency. I mean, it's money. Why wouldn't they want it? Right? Like I said, they got two jobs. Get funded to get elected, and then get funded to get reelected. Funds. It's not explicitly denominated in US dollars, you know? But in any case, I think that's probably the reason why we have seen a stall on this. And it's the same story we've seen in other countries. And I laugh at anybody that says that the United States is ahead of other countries when it comes to this stuff. You know, China has gotten way harder on regulating it. And I think only now that U.S. lawmakers are starting to see their constituencies taking up the burden that China was relieving with regard to mining and whatnot. And that capital investment in their territory, you know, within their congressional district, that's money. Why wouldn't they want it there? And so the idea of trying to regulate that out of their district is very unappealing. You know, even whatever pressures they may be receiving from legacy bankers and so on and so forth. I think the understanding is probably in by now that because these entities are no longer really needed in order to move monetary value around, and that in most cases their services are far more costly due to the regulatory burden that they actually have to entertain as trust brokers. You know, it's a two-edged sword where they signed up to be regulated entities. Well, now that they're regulated entities, they set the guide for what you can expect from regulated entities. Well, now when you have an entity that doesn't require your regulation in order to have fully legitimate books on a global basis, it just turned everything that you run as a regulator into a gross expense, basically. You know, the return on that expense is a gross loss, a deficit, rather. That the inhibition of the tech within your borders represents a greater threat than whatever teeny tiny amount of funding and transacting and trading that may be going on that is actually evading U.S. laws and sanctions. That represents such a tiny, minute fraction of the economic activity happening in cryptocurrencies that it's not even worth concern. I mean, you might want to be concerned as a direct investor in some of the projects that are involved, but beyond that, it's really none of their business. You know, It's beyond their concern. There's that report flying around that about $90 million has been transacted to launder funds within the crypto sphere. Even if it's double that, say it's 180 million, just to do it. All right. Do you know how much in US dollars is laundered every day? I can almost guarantee you that $180 million is a tiny fraction of it. So, if we really want to get serious about talking about, how much funny money is being floated around and laundered, cryptocurrencies are probably the least of your worries when it comes to that. And again, with violating trade sanctions and whatnot, most of that shit's happening on the individual level. It's not enterprise class participants that are doing this shit. It's not nation states that are doing this. It's 12 to 21 year olds in those countries that are seeking some economic freedom and finding it in cryptocurrencies. And who are we to say no, right? Anyway, it is with that I want to close out this episode. And I recently saw a video on YouTube. It was very, very sad news for me because when I first found out about this band, it was one of those experiences where nothing else existed except for the music pumping into my ears, and it was the most delicious stuff that I'd heard until that point. Apparently, there's been an official breakup of Machine Head, where two of the, I guess, founding members or close to founding members are choosing to bow out of the band. Although, from what I understand, they are going to complete their tour dates that they currently have scheduled. After that, it's pretty much adios. At least that's what's going on right now. Whether or not that actually changes in the future, who is to tell? They've actually been through shakeups like this before, and so I don't know. I think it's a little bit beyond expectation that we should expect that they will stay separated, but it is sad news that they have decided to part ways even now, even temporarily. And so it is with that. I want to go ahead and close this out with one of my very favorite songs by them. This is Machine Head, Block. Last dance for the evening, and thank you very, very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate the support. You can find me on Twitter, on Facebook for the time being. I will be migrating to other social media platforms, and I will indicate where I am shortly thereafter. And so, yeah, we will be back again on Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so until then, I want y'all to trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Not even Goldman Sachs. Thank you again for listening, and you all have an excellent evening. Night.